Good morning, guys. Welcome back aboard good old Athena. It's about 5:30 in the morning here in Cherbourg, France, and it's time for us to start heading towards Ireland. This is going to be our first overnight passage together, which we are both very excited about. We're going to split the trip to Ireland up into two legs, both because of some weather that's coming in and also because there's an exciting package waiting for Athena in Falmouth. My name is Mess. This is my wife Ava. I've spent the last 5 years on a somewhat extensive refit of our 1987 Warrior 38 named Athena. That was a DIY fun-packed adventure complete with a very extensive osmosis treatment, building a new rudder using vacuum infusion, rebuilding the entire deck, gutting and subsequently rebuilding most of the interior, painting the topsides, and a ton of other projects. The summer of 2021 we started cruising full time. Now we're finally ready to begin our adventure. Before we untie the lines, let's take one last look at what the weather might possibly perhaps be like. We're currently in Cherbourg in France. We're heading towards Falmouth in the UK today, and then later on towards Cork in Ireland. As far as today, I think the wind speeds are going to stay around 15-16 knots, gusting up to the highest I saw was 25. There is a little bit of nastiness going on out here, which is one of the reasons why we're splitting this trip up into two legs. That little bit of nastiness out here is going to affect the sea state, and by the time we get to Falmouth, which will be tomorrow sometime in the afternoon most likely, the sea state out here should be a little bit worse, but we should also be in the lee of Land's End here, so hopefully it won't be too bad. The trip to Falmouth is about 150 nautical miles from here. That should take us somewhere right around 30 to 35 hours. Now once we get to the UK, in case we run into issues, we have multiple good spots we can pop into, but let's go over the route once we're underway. With both sails up and well clear of land, we settled into our normal routine. Eva made some breakfast for us down below, and we sat in the cockpit enjoying a beautiful morning as the sun started to peek out behind the clouds. When we're sailing, we generally take turns napping on the settee. Ava went down first. I did my usual checks on the boat, like for instance the autopilot and the tiller arms. Not because I suspect anything is wrong, but because there isn't much of anything to do. Listening to audiobooks and enjoying the view are two of my favorite activities, of course, while keeping an eye out for boats around us. What started out like a super beautiful sunny day has now turned into a rainy grey mess, and it's also a little bit bumpy out here. We're about 7 hours in and we've cleared the eastbound traffic in the middle of the English Channel, so now there's just the westbound stuff left. But yeah, that should be coming up pretty soon. As we get a little bit closer to all the shipping that's here, I think we're just going to bear away a little bit and cross that at 90 degrees just to make it as quick as possible.
It's a few hours later now. It's about 5 o'clock and the sun is finally back out. It keeps playing hide and seek with us, but it is so nice when it's out. It's about 64 degrees and the wind is on our nose. It is supposed to die out in about a half hour, so that's why we have the motor on right now. Mads is feeling a little under the weather right now, so that puts me in charge. No, but in all seriousness, he isn't feeling that great right now, so we are thinking about maybe heading into Brixham. It's about 40 nautical miles away, so we're just gonna take it easy and see how he feels and decide in a little bit.
In an attempt to keep from feeding the fish, I tried hand steering the boat while being force-fed ginger by Ava. Steering the boat did seem to help. I don't think the ginger did much of anything. As it started getting dark, I went down below for a nap. Up on deck, Ava made some new friends and ended up being on watch all the way to Brixham. We pulled in around 2 o'clock in the morning. First thing in the morning, we called the National Yacht Line, which is how you're supposed to clear into the UK when arriving by boat. They've given us the all clear, so now we can go ahead and remove our yellow Q flag. When arriving in the UK, you're supposed to put up the yellow Q flag when you hit the 12-mile limit and not take it down until you have cleared customs and immigration. While you're waiting to be cleared in, you're not allowed to leave the boat. But now that we've squared that away, I am going to celebrate with an endless hot water decadent marina shower. Let's talk about the seasickness real quick, because like you know, we're supposed to leave down here from Cherbourg and go all the way to Falmouth. Instead, we ended up here in Brixham. That was my fault. I got seasick, and it's the first time it's happened since we left Denmark last summer. But I did get the full experience, including feeding the fish and everything. Absolutely horrible, 0 out of 10 stars, would not recommend. I don't know exactly why I got seasick. The other couple of times I've been seasick, I've kind of narrowed it down to because either I was nervous or scared, or because I didn't have breakfast. This time around I did have breakfast. I was a tiny bit nervous about our first, or what was supposed to be our first overnight passage together, but then there was also something else weighing on my mind. I know this may sound just a little bit silly, but this sail kind of felt like a scary milestone of sorts, because last summer when we left Denmark, I still had a long to-do list of projects ahead of me. And that list is now basically emptied out, and that means we're gonna have to slowly start our transition into being a proper sailing channel, complete with seasickness and all. Pretty much 99% of what I've done on this channel over the last 8 years have been DIY, and there will always be DIY here, but Athena is also getting very close to being finished, which means, well, we're gonna have to start sailing more. I am of course very excited about that. That has been a part of the dream all along. Fix up an old boat and then go sailing. But at the same time, I'm nervous because I don't know how to film or tell the story of sailing. I'm very confident shooting DIY content, but the sailing stuff, it's different, and I don't know exactly how to do that. It is my hope that Ava and I together can figure out how to tell sailing stories in a compelling and interesting way. Like I said, there's always going to be an element of DIY. I mean, we've sailed all of about 100 miles now, so I'm sure things are going to start breaking any second now. But no, all kidding aside, we do have some smaller but interesting projects coming up. Maybe hopefully later this year I'd like to install some air conditioning. We have to finish the headliner, but yeah, all of the big stuff is kind of done. I know a lot of you guys have been watching for a long time, as in way back when I first started moving aboard Obelix. I recognize some of the usernames down in the comment section, and I want to say thank you to all of you for sticking around for so long, and I hope you'll enjoy our transition into being a mix of sailing and DIY. There's no way for me to know if this content change weighing on my mind is what caused me to be seasick yesterday, but we are planning on leaving Brixham tomorrow, and well, I guess we'll see if I get seasick again. Brixham is a stunningly beautiful town with colorful little houses nestled on the hills surrounding the harbour. Nearest to the centre of town is the old harbour, of which a big part dries out during low tide. We tied up over in Brixham Marina, roughly a 2-minute walk from the centre of town, on the visitors pontoon, or events pontoon as it's also known. Brixham seems to be highly dependent on 2 industries. One is fishing and the other is tourism, with many restaurants and shops in the centre of town. As we peek out from our hiding spot, we see the Ava in its natural habitat, stalking its prey of highly desirable knick-knack. Yes, a little tray that fits into another little tray. The hunt was short but fruitful. To the uninitiated observer, this might seem brutal, but it is the circle of life in a tourist town. All kidding aside, Brixham is a beautiful town with little gardens maintained by volunteers. Well worth a stop, even if you're not seasick. The next morning we untied the lines. Before letting go of our stern line, I gave it a pull to bring the bow out to make sure we didn't scratch up the hull on the side of the pontoon. Today's destination is only about 2 hours away. which is fortunate because there is not enough wind for us to sail. We still unfurled the main to help stabilize the boat and maybe gain another fraction of a knot worth of boat speed. Brixham, as you've seen, is a lovely town, but whomever have come up with the pricing for the visitors pontoon at the marina should probably reconsider it, at least in my opinion, because £40 per night or $49 per night for a bird poop encrusted, non-water, non-electric having pontoon is a little bit outrageous. There is very little wind this morning, so we're running the engine, and that also means we're charging the batteries, which is good because we also need to run the water maker because there was no water on the pontoon. We run it for about half an hour now. We're about quarter way full on the tank. Today's little excursion is taking us from Brixham and down to the River Dart. That has been highly recommended by our friends aboard Cadoa, so we're very excited to check that out. In case you're wondering what's up with the band-aid, that is a drone-related incident. When I was grabbing the drone, the prop kind of caught my finger and cut it up a little bit, but yeah, it's not bad.
Well, one of my favorite things about sailing so far is that we have latches on everything. Usually when we're about to leave, we're shoving like pots and pans and clothing lockers and just things in random places. But it was so nice this morning and the other day just to lock all the lockers. Everything was away, just had to put like a few things away, and then we were ready to set sail and go. Also, I thought I was done with all of our sewing projects, but I'm getting more ideas as we go. I think I'm gonna make a sheet bag for right here so this line isn't flapping all about. We're just at the mouth of River Dart and it seriously looks so adorable. I am so excited right now. There's like little colored houses speckled all over the hillside and we're just like coming into the mouth of the river and it's beautiful. I am loving this right now.
We grabbed the mooring ball here and had a bit of lunch. Then the two very nice guys from the harbour office came by to collect the harbour dues. It cost £22 to stay here for a night, but they also made us aware that the ball we've chosen here is actually only suited for vessels up to 11 meters, meaning it's just a tiny bit undersized for Athena. Now, I had looked on Navionics, which said this one was good for up to 13 meter. I hadn't even bothered looking on the ball itself, but right on the ball it is printed with big letters, max 11 meters. They very politely asked us to relocate to the mooring ball right down there, so let's do that. Ava undid our mooring line, attaching us to the mooring ball, and I carefully turned us around so we could go a little bit downriver and make a sneak attack on our new home. With Ava at the bow of the boat with our grabby hooky thing, we slowly crept up on the mooring ball, staying in constant communication with our wireless headsets. She expertly hooked the mooring ball in the first go. Good job, Ava.
We haven't really had a chance to take the dinghy out much, and we're here on this river on a mooring ball, and it's a perfect opportunity, and there's probably lots of little things to see on the river, so we're gonna take her out for a little spin. This is also the first time we'll be taking the dinghy off the deck on a mooring, so wish us luck.
We had a chance to use our little outboard one time in Gosport, but that is about it. Now, we've been charging the battery for the last 3 hours because there is a little thing to be aware of with these, and that is that they self-discharge over time. So even though you charge it fully up and then you just let it sit, when you go to use it, well, then it's down to 50%. So you gotta just remember to leave a little bit of time to charge. It's my understanding that they don't do this solely to annoy the user, but actually do it to extend the battery lifetime. So yeah, I guess it's okay. But this is now fully charged. Let's go.
Right up there is Athena, and across from Athena, behind all these trees, is actually Agatha Christie's house. It's pretty cool. We wanted to go check it out, but we kind of were puttering around all afternoon and we missed our window to go. But right behind me here is her boathouse, and that was actually the scene of the crime in her book, Dead Man's Folly. I haven't read it, but now I'm gonna have to.
We don't have much of a plan here, but I think we're just gonna go up the river a little bit and then come back to the dinghy dock that's right next to Athena.
I kind of feel like I'm on my own ferry being chauffeured around right now.
Oh, madame.
There's not much to see up here. It's very beautiful, very idyllic, but there's not much to see. However, there are a lot of very interesting ways of how people are trying to keep birds off their boat. This is the festive version. This is the retro version. Ooh, spiky version with fake owl. Here's spiky version with blender attachment.
We tied up to the dinghy dock and went for a short walk around Ditchesham with beautiful views over the river, small, narrow and very steep roads and quaint houses that had Ava wanting to instantly move here. There are so many beautiful places to stop along the south coast of the UK, and the River Dart, at least in my humble opinion, and our friends aboard Cadoras, is pretty high up on that list. We're gonna stay here for another day, because this week we've kind of lost our weather window to go straight to Ireland, so for right now, we're in no rush. Before ending this video, I think it's only fitting to give credit where credit is due, and Ava won't hear that. She's not on the boat right now, she's off on her own little adventure, but she did such a good job steering the boat while I was seasick. I'm very proud of her for that. One of our big missions for this summer is to get Ava all up to speed so she can run all of the systems on the boat on her own and also sail the boat on her own in case something happens to me. And yeah, so far she is doing a really, really good job. I wasn't expecting to get seasick on this trip. The sea state we were in wasn't even the worst we've seen since we left Denmark, so it took me a little bit by surprise. But it's certainly not the end of our cruising dream by any stretch of the imagination. While seasickness is unpleasant, it has a survival rate of 100%, so that's pretty good. And also, if I've learned anything from watching other sailing channels here on YouTube, it is the fact that quite a lot of cruisers have occasional bouts of seasickness, so yeah, it's certainly not fun, but yeah, sometimes it happens. Our plan is to stay here until tomorrow, then we're gonna leave and go 10 miles south of here. And I'm very excited about this because we're gonna go to Freshwater Bay, which is this little tiny bay where we're gonna drop the hook. And then we're gonna spend our first real night at anchor. That's gonna be exciting on its own. But while we're there, I should be able to don my scuba gear and dive on the hull and get our copper coat all scrubbed and see how that's doing after a year and a half in the water, and also change the anode on our sail drive, which I've been putting off for a little while, and I'm really looking forward to getting that done. So I hope you'll join us here aboard Athena next week for a tiny bit of sailing fun, some scuba diving, a little bit of anchoring. Should be a lot of fun. As always, feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like. See you!